On this day, the President of the United States of America has spoken, and what he announced on this day, on this historic day, the war in Afghanistan is finally over, says Mr. Biden, and all the troops are going to be coming home by the end of August. It appears that Mr. Biden and his advisors have come to the maybe not so sudden realization that 20 years of a war that accomplished absolutely nothing but the loss of American blood and treasure is long enough.
So let me ask those who want us to stay, how many thousands more Americans' daughters and sons are you willing to risk? How long would you have them stay? Already we have members of our military whose parents fought in Afghanistan 20 years ago. Would you send their children and their grandchildren as well?
That's a hell of a point, isn't it? We have people living today, both in Afghanistan, in the United States, who fought in a war, whose children are now fighting in the same war. Man. Because most Americans get their news from outlets who have ties to our military-industrial complex, most Americans will not get a full picture of the story. So it's incumbent upon me, upon us, to share it with you, to share the truth. They will not understand the context of this colossal failure on the part of our so-called leaders who brought this about and then continued to manifest it. I want you to think about this for a minute, okay? I want you to think about this. The war in Afghanistan lasted 20 years, as you just heard our president say. You know how many U.S. wars you would have to add up one on top of the other to come up with 20 years of war? Let's do it. Let's do this. Let's do this. It's a good mental exercise, right? Take the American Revolution, add the years from the Civil War, add the Spanish-American War, add World War I, add World War II, and for good measure, what do you say we throw in the Korean War? That is how many wars it would take. All those, by the way, much more consequential, right? Consequential wars combined that add up how much time. Look at this. Internalize that for a minute. You won't get this on CNN. Internalize what this means. That's how long we've been in Afghanistan. And you know how much it cost? According to researchers at the Costs of War Project, it cost you and me, out of our money, out of our pockets, right? The American taxpayer, more than $2 trillion. $2 trillion to fight that war. That's more than all of the wars in our history combined. And now ask yourself this. These are really important questions. What did we get for it? Maybe the more pertinent answer is why, or question, why did we go there in the first place? You remember? Most of you weren't even born. I was. I'm old. We went there to take out the Taliban. Didn't happen. Failure. They're still there. Number two, we went there to take out this dude named Osama bin Laden. Again, failure. We didn't. In fact, it's worse than that. I want to share something with you because I've been doing this for a while. U.S. military officials who were there in Tora Bora Mountains have told me repeatedly in interviews that I have done with them, Marines, that we had bin Laden in our sights. Right there, the first year when we went in. We could have ended the whole thing. The Marines, they spotted him, and they were ready to take him out until they called Washington and were told by Dick Cheney and Donald Rumsfeld, no. Don't take him out. Don't kill him. Don't kill him. Why? Apparently, they didn't want the conflict to end so soon. There was still stuff to do. In fact, they actually wanted to prolong it and expand it by going into Iraq, which is exactly what they did. So the result has been an unmitigated disaster. That is what the war in Afghanistan was. That is the truth. And unless we express this type of truth, unless we're honest about this thing as Americans, clearly the same forces that conned us into that disaster will do it again and again. Is there a consolation? Yeah, there is, I guess. And it's probably this: we're not alone. Afghanistan has come to be known as the graveyard of empires. The British went there, failed. The Russians went there, failed. And now America's gone there, and we failed. Who's next to try? Who's next to try and topple or control a country made of nomadic tribes and mountaintops and lots of rocks with very few targets, as Donald Rumsfeld once told me? That's next here on the News with Rick Sanchez, where we believe it's time to do news again.